Tonight on Local 24 News at 5, we're letting news of the day take a back seat for a few minutes. At 6 o'clock, we'll bring you the very latest about COVID-19, including new Moderna vaccinations. But now at 5, we're changing things up and taking some time to share a special story about a very special guy. You see him here on Local 24 News most nights, Mike Matthews. Mike's worked in the media for 44 years, since 1976. And after a few more days with us, he's decided to enjoy a well-earned retirement. And we think after all the stories he's told and all he means to our newsroom and to the city of Memphis, he deserves some special recognition.
I still think he has plenty of barking left in him. He's the best storyteller that I've ever met. He's witty. His writing is absolutely creative, and nobody can deliver it like a Mike Matthews.
He is easily one of the best in the business, let alone in Memphis television, for sure.
And it will create a big void in Memphis journalism, not just at Local 24.
I've always thought of myself as a journalist. When I was coming up through college, remember that this was right in the middle of the Watergate scandal, and journalists were kind of heroes. I mean, they're the ones that broke that story. And I remember looking at that and thinking that I could do something that had effect, that had lasting effect. I could help people. I started as a country western disc jockey in Caribou, Maine, in 1976. So I was out there for about 6 weeks, and then I started my first TV job, which was just down the road in Presque Isle, Maine, where I was an anchor and reporter. The best training ground I had was Charlotte, North Carolina at WBTV. Bill Whitaker, who is on 60 Minutes, for example, worked at WBTV. There were others as well. These guys were just good, and they taught me an awful lot about writing and making sure my stuff was solid and unbiased and down the middle.
In 1997, Mike Matthews brought all he learned here to Memphis. It was supposed to be a stepping stone.
Memphis grows on you. And it's not, yeah, the city's messed up. Good God, the city's messed up. I mean to tell you. But the people, the regular people, the working class people in this city are amazing people.
You know, he just fell in love with Memphis. And you look through his Twitter feed, you find so many examples of him really opening up his heart about the city here and how kind people are and how generous they are.
Mike chose Memphis as his home, and Memphis adopted Mike as one of its own.
Here's a story. A friend of mine who I'd known for years came to Memphis to visit me one day. And we're walking down Main Street. And people were recognizing me, and I was saying hello. And he stopped and turned to me and said, "You better never think of leaving Memphis, because you're getting more response and respect here," he says, "than I've ever seen you get anywhere else." And that was it.
But what's special about Mike is he just tells it like it is.
Mike became the watchdog.
He walked by and someone said, "That's the watchdog." And I thought to myself, watchdog? But then it sort of fit his, personality, right? Because he's a little gruff.
And Channel 3, Michelle Gores, came up with that idea. And I was kind of against it. I thought, oh God, this is going to be awful. People are going to bark at me on the streets. This is going to be awful. And it caught on.
It's really cool to know that it's stuck all these years and that Mike's been kicking booty and holding the powerful accountable long since I ever left the market.
Sometimes, though, I get called watchdog. Sometimes I get bulldog. Sometimes I get hot dog. Sometimes I get corn dog. But I mean, it's but I don't care. It's the dog, and that's what I am, basically. Just an average schlump trying to get the job done.
He did piss people off, but they respected him. And that's what a good journalist does, right? You get under the skin a little bit.
He was interviewing a former commissioner, Terry Rowland, and Rowland at that time was just, he was mad at everybody.
And Chris Thomas on the county commission said something to Terry Rowland, and Rowland said, "I'll knock your teeth in your head if you ever say anything like that again."
And Mike asked him, "Mr. Rowland, with all due respect, what's wrong with you?"
It floored him. He wasn't quite sure, and then he got angry. But my goal with that question was, Adults don't fight with each other.
Mike went toe-to-toe several times with Mayor Willie Harrington over the years. But it's what happened behind the scenes that Mike remembers most.
When I lost my job at Channel 3, I was out of work for a few weeks. And the then news director at Channel 24 saw Willie Harrington at a restaurant. And he walked over to him and said, "Hey, I'm thinking of hiring Mike Matthews for a job as a reporter." And he said that the mayor jumped off his chair, hugged him, and said, "He's as fair and as good a reporter as you're going to find in this city. You need to hire him." Wow, and that's what he said. And I guess that symbolizes it all. I was really tough. We really got into some disagreements. But at the end of the day, he said, I treated him fairly.
In just a few minutes, former Mayor Harrington has some words of his own for Mike, along with many of the local politicians you've seen Mike interview over the many years. But first, we're going to examine Mike's unique talent, the thing that makes other journalists try to be like Mike, and some very special guests.